Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Catholic Talk Show. Today, we're going to be looking at the top Google questions on what priests do.
That's right. We're going to take Google and we're going to take Father Michael here and we're going to get to the heart of it and answer all your questions that Google asks about Catholic priests.
So if you like to find out the secrets of a priest's life, stay tuned.
All right. Can't say that I've ever Googled that, but apparently, apparently a lot of people do, you know?
I think one of the things that I've learned in marketing and I've learned in kind of content creation is answer the question that people are asking, right? A lot of times, you know, people will try to answer questions that no one's asking. So no one gets engaged with that. And I think the best way to really help satisfy people's curiosity and let people know more about the church is what are they asking and then answer it for them. So that's what we're going to try to do here today.
Hopefully a better answer than what AI can come up with or any of the different large language models, because this is actual.
I mean, you're a real priest, not
real
digital.
Priest, yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure I am, right?
But
yes,
this is going to be feeding the model, so...
This is going to be feeding the model.
So it's going to use this, but recognize that it's stealing the information from us.
We do not
consent.
We do not consent.
Awesome. Our intellectual property.
Now, before we hit the Googles, I want to make sure that if you're watching this, take 1 second, click the like and subscribe button. It's the easiest way that you could help support us, that and prayer. It only takes 1 second. The number one Google question for the Catholic Talk Show is, why have you not clicked subscribe? It's super easy. If you don't do it,
only you can answer that.
Only you can answer that. All right. So let's jump right into it. And I think this is an easy one to jump into.
All right. Set me up here.
All right. Google, why do Catholic priests wear black?
Oh, because of death.
Oh,
yeah,
that's it.
Basically, yeah. I mean, like the modern clerics come from kind of an Anglican turn on things, and it comes, there's Roman roots to it as well. But really, black is really that color of penance and death, and just a good reminder of that.
Yeah, and you probably need that reminder every now and then too.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm the Man in Black. If you ever listen to that Johnny Cash song, it's reminds you of those who are trodden down and. You look like you're going to a funeral, son. Yeah. I just might be.
Yeah, I just might be. I think it sets you guys apart. Look, I imagine in the Middle Ages priests were more colorful, but I think that's pretty cool that when you're out, when I was coming down here, going to the airport, I see a guy wearing all black. I'm like, there's a priest, right? You could just immediately kind of pick that out,
Yeah, I may need to start wearing black as a reminder to myself too with the kids and stuff. Remember.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well throw in a bonus question here, what's up with the collar?
That
There's a little bit of white going on.
That is the number two question.
Oh,
what's up with that collar?
Ask me. I actually don't know.
It's just terribly comfortable.
I should have found this out ahead of time. I mean, other than obviously it sets us apart, and it is so that clerical collar that comes from Roman
times,
and into but the style that we use, again, we steal this, kind of was formulated in England, and that's kind of what spread into our use of it as well. So yeah.
So
it's called a Roman collar, right? And it goes back to honestly just a fashion statement.
Yeah,
people just wore that. I think you can even see in the 60s, they were wearing Roman collars like the Beatles and stuff. You would see that, and they wouldn't have the little white thing, but they were wearing the
right.
What do they call it? Like a Nehru jacket and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It kind of squares up like that with nothing in the middle.
Yeah,
yeah. Because I think of Romans when you wear a alb or something like that. I would think that's kind of like how they dress, based on my research with the gladiator.
Yeah. But again, for me, it's just this public proclamation of the fact that I'm in the clerical state, that I'm a priest, that I'm representing something beyond myself. So it is easy to distinguish and point out, and the white shows up really good against the black.
Yeah.
Do you ever travel when you're wearing the collar and just people come up to you and it's
oh yes,
I need to go to confession, or ask you questions?
Yeah, definitely the questions are definitely are you a real priest, or are you Catholic?
Are you a real priest? No, it's just terribly comfortable.
It is.
I paid rent a priest $150.
Confessions in public a little less often, but that I can't say that hasn't happened. And it's yeah. I mean, whenever I get on a plane, people are like, "Oh, all right, we got it."
Yeah, well, this plane's not going down.
Thank goodness. I'm like, I got no control over that. I can give you general absolution before we go down, but
I gotta admit, when I was coming down here and I saw that there was a priest, I'm like, okay, we'll be all right.
yeah, I do get that a lot.
Yeah. I guess this is another one. I guess people are really interested in what goes on in the wardrobe. Because, I mean, it's different, right?
Yeah.
Look, I love the whole idea of wearing the same thing every day. Like a month ago, I was looking at all my clothes. I'm like, I'm going to get rid of everything and just wear the same thing every day.
Yeah.
You know?
I've gotten to that point.
Yeah. And I typically just wear black clothes. That way I don't have to separate laundry. It's got to be pretty easy, not having to choose what to wear.
That's pretty nice. Yeah. I mean, I got some clerical shirts that are better than others. Some that.
Well, what makes a good clerical shirt versus a bad clerical shirt?
Not faded or
not faded or
Unburnt.
gross.
How long you get?
I've been wearing them for going on 17 years now. So
Same ones?
No, I've had to get new ones.
Okay.
There are some that are probably still hanging out from 17 years ago. I don't really throw many things away. So if you look at my closet, it's just all black.
All black?
It's like looking into my soul. No, it is all black. Yeah.
How many years or wears do you get out of a shirt before it gets too faded?
Man, a lot. I'll push things, man. I'll push things. And we're talking. I'm talking years. I'm talking 3, 4, 5 years of being in the normal rotation, and then all of a sudden you get hit to the the B team where you're coming in emergencies when I haven't done laundry. And then there's different styles of collars and stuff that you'll see. This is just can I blow everyone's mind here for those who are watching? This is just a tab collar right here.
Well, that's what most priests wear, right?
Most priests wear this. This is real plastic. You can hear that there. That's real plastic. So that's how you know I'm a real priest.
Does it also snap around your wrists?
Around your wrists.
Make a bracelet?
You can make it as a headband. There's lots of cool things you can do with it. There are the different versions of that, but sometimes you'll have different shirts that you're like, man, I don't even have the collar for that shirt, so I can't even wear it. So
like the Daffy Duck one where it goes white all the way around.
Yeah. And of course, if you're wearing like a cassock or you're wearing a ravi, which is kind of like a front vest sort of thing, there's lots of different stylistic options. So,
do you ever have? And do you know anyone who can you wear like a Hawaiian print pre-shirt?
There are sometimes some options. In some more tropical environments, you can have like white clerics and things like that. I would draw the line there as far as color options between have a white clerical shirt. I know sometimes in our buddies in South Florida, they would have kind of like clerical
Kubavara.
clerical guayabera sort of things that they'd be wearing, and which is kind of cool. But I've got some priests up here in North Florida that had some the PDF. What is the
SPG?
SP
the fishing shirts.
Yeah, the fishing shirt version of it as well. So that's very North Florida, the Northwest Florida right there.
I have seen that. I've seen priests. You know the priest. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He'll always forget his collar, right? Yeah. He'll have the shirt, but he won't have the tab, and he'll just take a piece of paper and stick it in there.
Hey, from a distance, you can fool people with that. I try to have a collar everywhere I am, like in my car and just have
just in case.
Just in case, absolutely. Yeah.
You would forget those all the time.
Yeah, well, that's why I wouldn't call,
you got a tab.
One of many reasons.
All right, so this one again kind of goes towards the
I should have studied up on clothes more before this. Dang, I feel like a fool.
So it's
just black.
Why do Catholic priests wear robes?
Wear robes, absolutely, yeah. So if you ever go to mass, you see the priests wearing the robes, the vestments we would call them. In a sense, all of them mean something, and so it starts with the alb. And so obviously, you can if you're vesting, you'd start with the amice, which is kind of the helmet that you put over your head and goes there. But you put on the alb, and the alb is actually the sign of all the baptized. So if you've ever seen like a baby baptized or an adult baptized, they're usually wearing white, or after they're baptized, they'll be wearing white. And so the alb is the first thing we put on as we're vesting for mass, and that comes, alb it means white. It's if you ever seen or read Harry Potter, Albus Dumbledore, Albus is the white, and so it's that reminder of our baptismal identity. Everything else we put on over that is a reminder of what we received in and through ordination. So we put on the stole, we put on the chasuble, all those things that we put on is the cincture is in a sense we're being clothed with Christ Jesus. So that when you see a priest celebrating mass, it's not me doing that. It's Jesus Christ in and through his priest, celebrating Mass or the sacraments in the person of Christ Jesus. So we really believe that in persona Christi, which is one of those great Catholic phrases that actually happens throughout the ministry of the church or the priest, but especially in those moments of celebrating the sacraments or in a liturgical celebration. So yes, that's the reason for the robes, is we're putting on, and those come to us from kind of the style of those really comes from Judaism, from what the priests would wear during the sacrifice in the temple. And of course, we believe in Jesus, according to Hebrews, is our great high priest. And every priest, every ordained priest, there's only one priest in the Catholic Church, and that's Jesus Christ. We all participate in his priesthood. Just like the universal church, all the baptized participate in the universal priesthood of Jesus. We do in a particular way in the ministerial priesthood.
Yeah, we're all priest, prophet, and king through him.
Yep.
So like as you're vesting, you're probably going into that sort of prayer. And
there are prayers for each one, prayers for even washing your hands, prayers for putting on the amice, the helmet of salvation, put it on the alb, the cincture of purity, the stole, which is that priestly authority of Jesus, and then being clothed with that yoke of Christ with the chasuble. So it's a good reminder every time.
Right.
As we're getting ready for Mass, because a lot of times you're running into Mass from a bunch of other things, and then so just to kind of have that sort of pause as you're being clothed with Christ Jesus, stepping into that. Mm-hmm.
All right, Google asks, why are priests not allowed to bury?
To marry?
To marry.
I heard bury. I'm sorry. I was like, wow, we can bury people. No, we're
bury people all the time. I'll bury you for saying that.
I'll bury you.
Bury all you people. So why can we not get married? Yeah, that's a great question. So really this comes from the earliest days of when Jesus called his disciples, some of whom were married. We know that at the moment of their call, like Simon Peter, we know he was married because he had a mother-in-law that Jesus cured, that they were called to follow Jesus and really put Jesus first in a very particular way, to forsake all else. Those who have given up, wives or children or parents or lands for my sake will receive much more in the kingdom, in the world to come. Also, Jesus talks about this celibacy for the sake of the kingdom of heaven, giving up marriage for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. So the way that this has been exercised has kind of shifted throughout the history of the church, but really from the earliest days of the church, that once people were ordained, what we would call is when they lay hands on you, you're made a priest. From that moment on, that you would not get married. So even though in the Eastern Church or the Byzantines or in Orthodoxy, which they all have valid priesthoods, and in some rare cases in the Latin Rite Church, that there are married men who are called to be priests, that once you're ordained, you don't get married. So that's always kind of an.
So priests have never been able to be married,
yes,
to get married,
but
married men have been able to become priests.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's just it's one of those things that people kind of throw that out all the time. Like, well, priests used to be able to get married. And I think it's just an important kind of clarification. It seems like it's not important, but it really is. It's like, no, priests have never been allowed to get married. Married men have, and still do in certain circumstances, become priests. But once you're ordained a priest, you can't get married. Like if your wife were to die or something, you can't then get married. And that's the same in the Eastern Church as well. And the reason for that is celibacy for the kingdom is for the sake of a more intentional and profound conformity to Jesus Christ and to his church. So why am I living what we call celibate chastity, that I'm a celibate man who's called to be chaste. We're all called to be chaste, but in different ways. And so recognizing that is for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. It's sometimes they put it like it's for so the church can save money because they don't have to support a wife and family, or it's so that the bishop can send you to different places. Those are all important, not unimportant, important considerations. But it's specifically because I'm called to reflect the kingdom of heaven to the world. So when people see me and they see a priest, this is a big thing. When they see the collar and they realize that I'm a Catholic priest, whether they're Catholic or not, they have this understanding. Oh, there's something about this guy that is weird or otherworldly, or in a sense points beyond itself, because celibacy is a sign to this world, in a world that desperately needs this sign as well, that you can live without sex, which is important, but also that we're made for we're made for more, that this life is pointing beyond itself. What marriages should be pointing to as well. A good marriage should be pointing beyond itself to heaven, which, marriage is a sacrament, meaning a sign of what's to come. Same thing with celibacy, that I'm beginning to participate in that sign, in that life of heaven, even now. So when people see me or see another priest or someone who's living celibacy, and hopefully we're well-adjusted and joyful and living to the full, and like, oh, it's possible to live this way, and it's always a challenge, because there's something about this. They're like, oh, I can't imagine living that way, and
most of you guys are celibate anyway.
Well, but it also brings up the fact that, but if God is real, if heaven is real, then maybe it would be possible. Like, it begins to even almost kind of demand an answer to that question, which is why I think a lot of times people on my behalf will be upset about celibacy. They're like, I think you should be allowed to get married. And I'm like, well, I also have other promises of obedience or of simplicity of life or of prayer. You don't seem to be upset about those, but this is the one. The celibacy is the one.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, it's almost sort of like it forces all of us, whether we're married or not, to take a look, like, oh, am I living my life as if heaven is real? Because this guy is, hopefully, which is the potential of being a priest and living celibacy.
We've had a married priest on the show before, and to a man, every married priest I've ever talked to say, do you think being a married priest is a good idea? And they're like, absolutely not. And my wife doesn't either. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Because it is a very difficult situation to be married and a priest, because it's like, oh, Billy's got his baseball game at 4:00. Are you going to be there? No, because I'm at the hospital. Yeah. Hey, this weekend, don't forget my mom's coming into town and we're having dinner. I can't. I got parish council. Like, the amount of attention and the needs of so many families. I mean, because you are a spiritual father to thousands of people in your parish.
Yeah.
And it's almost
a unique challenge for those guys. Absolutely.
And Justin has like a gift of being a spiritual father. He's a great confessor. Like, so it's not even that, he's distant or incapable. It's that he loves his wife. He loves his children. And it's very difficult. I think it might fall in the reins of like a practical look at it. Because, especially now, like, priests have lots of families, and the demands of those families, even in just being in hospitals, preparing people for marriage, like baptisms, masses, like it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It also points to this fact, and obviously celibacy, I think, is a fuller sign of this. The married men can fulfill this if they're ordained. That we're not just like, and people maybe are familiar in a Protestant context of like a pastor, like a teaching pastor, a senior pastor, a preaching pastor. In a sense, that's not what we are when we're ordained to the priesthood. We might serve as the pastor, as in like, I'm the leader of a canonical parish, and I'm called to lead and govern that in union with the bishop. But when you're ordained a priest, it's about this configuration of my body and my soul, my entire person. We believe that actually when you're ordained a priest, that you receive an indelible mark. That's what we call a sacrament. Actually, the sacramentum is that tattoo or that branding that comes from the Romans. Yep. The Roman legions, they would brand you behind the ear or on the arm. That's where we get that word mysterion. We translated sacramentum from that. Like, in a sense that you're branded with this mark. So I take all that with me to the altar. I take all that with me when I'm celebrating the sacraments, and when I'm celebrating confessions, when I'm baptizing somebody. So in a sense, there's something about this bodily integrity that's not unimportant to it. It's not unimportant to the celebration. It's much more than me. If I was just preaching, if I just was told by the parish, okay, or by my church, like, all right, you've got enough formation and training, you can get up there and teach us. That's an awesome aspect of what we do. But the fact of being ordained a priest is something qualitatively different than that, which I think is just kind of, is different for people maybe who just come from maybe an evangelical background, and they have a pastor who did years of seminary and probably is a really good preacher in those things. What that person is exercising, we would see a quantitative or qualitative difference in what the priest is called to be. Whether I'm a priest who's leading a parish or a priest who's 97 years old and is retired and can barely celebrate Mass, that we're still conformed to Jesus Christ in a very particular way. So that includes our bodies, and maybe that's something that isn't always brought up. And I think celibacy is a sign of that too. That so much so that my my who I am as a man, my identity, just my procreative capabilities, all that is handed over to the Lord for the sake of this call, which is really what St. Paul talks about. When St. Paul, who was not married and who lived that celibacy in his own priesthood, because Paul is a priest and a bishop, he says, like, I wish everyone could be like me, but everyone can't, But he says, because once you're married, you're going to be divided. And then he kind of looked at the practical aspect to point to a mystical reality of what someone in service of the church, someone who was ordained, was called to be.
Yep. If St. Paul was a bishop and he was in Rome, was he the auxiliary bishop?
Yeah, so there would not have been as strongly formulated dioceses back then, but yeah, I guess so. If there's different bishops
Google
coming to
wasn't
Rome,
asking
yeah. Then Pope Peter and a bunch of his auxiliaries,
Clement and all the auxiliaries. All right, you might have words about this, and you might be able to dispel something. I don't want to get into it, but why do Catholic priests not pay taxes?
Oh my goodness. Where do you get your information?
This
Google?
is Google.
Thank you for asking the question. I pay a lot of taxes. I would say I pay way too many taxes. No, I do pay taxes because I do get as a diocesan priest, I do get a paycheck. It's not huge, but it's I'm doing just fine, and I do pay taxes on that. The church is tax exempt, as most.
I think that's probably what they were
are
confused.
But yeah, so we are not the church. So I'm not paying property taxes on the church that exists because I actually don't own the church. The church, all belongs to the bishop. There are some priests who are in religious orders who make no money, who actually have no money at all, don't even get a paycheck, and they would. Maybe
they'd still have to file.
They'd still have to file something. Like, so our bishop, Bishop Bill Walk, who's been our bishop for several years now, as a priest, it was the Holy Cross, Holy Cross Fathers in the
Notre Dame.
Congregation of Holy Cross, Notre Dame. And when he was made our bishop, he didn't even, Bishop Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but in case he watches this, he didn't have a bank account at that point.
Okay,
because he had no money of his own. It was just kind of the congregation's money. So he would have a car that belonged to the congregation and everything else. So there's some priests that are in that circumstance. But for us who do get a paycheck, I pay taxes like everybody else, and I'm always shocked.
Yeah,
I'm amazed.
They don't give you a break even?
No, there's no break.
Can you write off collars and robes as business expenses?
Yeah. If I buy vestments myself, or if I buy clerical wear, or other things. I don't want to mention too many more things in case my accountant's watching. Don't bring that up.
Your accountant and Bishop Walker sitting there watching
this,
like,
being like, oh man,
what are you doing? Don't give the secrets away.
He needs to go to administrative classes.
Now we're going to get audited as a whole thing. A lot of questions about income and taxes for priests, because I don't think a lot of people understand that. And I think that you made a good point, is that the church itself is tax exempt because it is, that's a allowance under our government.
So if you give to the church, you're getting, you can write that off on your taxes.
Yep.
Yeah. And so,
I don't. I have always felt weird about that. Like, I give to the church every week. It's auto draft. And I've always felt like, and I know you should. And I know
the standard deduction right now is so high. I don't think unless you're given like a crazy amount. It's
every bit counts on taxes, but I've never done it because I'm like, I'm going to go up and like, God's like, did you support the church? I'm like, yeah. He's like, but you wrote it off. Dude, you wrote it off.
Oh, yeah.
You wrote it
don't
off.
Prove it.
Yeah, don't prove that. Like, I got your filing here from 2024 and you wrote this off as an expense. Cool, man. Good job. Get to the back of the line.
You've had your reward. Isn't that the words of Jesus? He says you've had your reward.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
I wonder if there's like no taxes on tips. I wonder if like you get like $100 for a
stipend.
Like somebody to say, thanks for the wedding. Here's a couple $100.
You got to declare that.
I don't want to ask a question.
Yeah, you do have to declare that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not a tip. It's a stole fee, and actually the church has some regulations around that. And
the church don't need audits, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Are Catholic priests allowed to drink?
Yes, we are. And this is, same behavior as any Christian gentleman.
Yeah.
As far as rules in and around drinking. alcohol, that you drinking to excess is a sin. So don't do that. But in moderation, and you are allowed to drink. So it is one of those things. We live very much in the Bible Belt. We're here in Panama City in my parish, and a lot of people confuse that with maybe some prescriptions from other Christian denominations. Like, I didn't think y'all were allowed to drink. It's like we invented beer, man. Like, this is our thing. So,
all right. Google asks, why are Catholic priests called father?
That's a great question. Absolutely. And a lot of times people will bring this up as kind of a challenge. They'll be like, Jesus says, call no man father. I'm always like, oh no, that's in there. But he also says in the next line, he says, call no man teacher too, which no one gets after teachers for being called teachers. So obviously Jesus is using a rabbinic mode of argumentation there to sort of like drive home a point, because you can still call your dad father. You can still call, So Paul says,
I call my dad sir.
I call my dad Michael. I call my dad Daddy-O, actually.
You call him Daddy-O?
Yes.
Still,
absolutely.
Deacon Daddy-O?
Deacon Daddy-O.
I like it.
But St. Paul taught, because Jesus also says, you're talking about units in a parable of Father Abraham, or St. Paul saying, I became your father in faith, and so I've become a father to you. So in a sense, like this understanding that the church is a family. And so what we're called to embody as priests and as leaders is a participation in the fatherhood of God. It's participation in the priesthood of Jesus Christ, the fatherhood of God. So as spiritual fathers, which I would say all men are called to be husbands and fathers. We're called to live that in different ways. Y'all, in your marriages, myself, in my life as a priest, called to lay down my life as a husband for my bride, the church. I'm also called to be a father, a spiritual father, to the people that I help to grow in faith, the people that I baptize. So in a sense, it's a recognition of that. It actually comes back to, and I love like the Desert Fathers are really kind of, that title where they would, this is Abba Anthony,
I do like that.
This recognition of this figure that I go to for advice and to help me to take my next step in discipleship. And I think there's such a great tradition of that. Unfortunately, when sometimes people kind of cast that off to just say like, well, we don't have any titles, we don't have anything, we don't have, that what it kind of does is kind of, instead of liberating us, oftentimes it can make us feel sort of like orphans. Like I don't have any sort of authority figure I can go to. I don't have a spiritual father that I can speak to. But there's something great about the church calling certain men to this role and ordaining them priests and having that title of father. It says like, all right, that this is a person, even if you know them or not, you can speak to them, whether in confession or just for counsel or for prayer, and they're representing something greater than themselves. They have this stability to them, and obviously us as priests are always called to live that more and more dynamically or better, where a good father is someone who's always trying to help you to be raised up, to be better than them, and y'all do that in your own lives as fathers, and hopefully I'm doing that as well. A bad father is one who puts their children lower than himself, or doesn't want his children to get higher than him, so to speak. That would be kind of the definition of an abusive or manipulative father. But a good one is one who's loving them in such a way that they're actually getting more life and vitality than he has. So hopefully that I'm living that in my priesthood.
Yeah, and father and even pope are informal titles. Like the pope, that's an informal title. He's the bishop of Rome. He's the vicar of Christ. He's the pontifex.
Right.
The pope is papa. That's like an informal. And even priest, I mean, on your documents, it doesn't say Father Michael Nixon. Right. It says
Reverend.
That's the official title.
Which is a clerical title. Yeah. Actually, I'm very reverend because I'm the dean of my deanery.
Wow.
So
very
that's a title that can change tomorrow. I could lose that in 5 seconds if I get moved to a different parish. But
I would have dressed nicer if I knew it was a very reverend. So what are some of the others? It's like reverend, very reverend,
very reverend,
very reverend, super duper reverend,
very reverend, which is a whole thing. Let's see. Reverend. So Reverend Mr. is a deacon, actually. Reverend Mr.
Reverend Mr.
That's interesting. So Reverend is a priest. Very Reverend is if you were like a dean or the dean. So our diocese is broken up into deaneries. Okay. So we have the Diocese of Pensacola, Tallahassee, and there's 4 deaneries. So our East Central deanery is kind of this surrounding area of parishes, and the dean is the one who kind of just checks in with the parishes, make
like
sure.
A lieutenant for the
division. It's like a division in baseball.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely. And basically just to keep us all on the same page and make sure guys, sacramentally, they have what they need at those parishes, be able to help answer any questions or help if there's a guy that's going to be out for a while, helping them to feel supported in that, make sure the records are kept correctly. So
it's usually like in a geographical area.
And so I'm a very reverend for that. And Monsignor's kind of a dying title, but that's
it
one of the
it's making a bit of a
titles.
comeback. Bishop of Rome Francis, Pope Francis, kind of tried to discourage Monsignor because a lot of times people would just go for it for the title and not for the actual reason that you would be named a Monsignor. So he really made it only for priests towards the end of their career,
After retirement age.
after retirement, so that you wouldn't have this kind of clerical climbing. But there's a role for Monsignor as a title that recognizes contribution to the church and, their specific charism. So, I mean, I know that Leo has already named a few Monsignors, so it's
interesting. Okay.
coming
Does
back.
the Pope have to name Monsignors?
Technically, yeah. So you'll be like nominated by a diocese for that. It's a chaplain to His Holiness is kind of like one of the aspects of being a Monsignor. And then really from there, I mean, because there's only three levels in the church. There's as far as ordination goes, there's diaconate, priesthood, and bishop. And so I'm living kind of the highest level of that than I'm aspiring to or anything else. And I think it's a when people see a priest like, oh, do you hope for more? You hope for thinking of maybe we have a lot of military in area, so are you going to
rank
go to the next rank? It's like, no, this is it.
That's
like
it.
I'm a priest for the rest of my life, which is pretty sweet.
Well, a bishop is a priest. A pope is a
Right. Yeah.
bishop.
Yeah,
and
when
a
you
priest.
become a priest, you're still a bishop. Or a bishop, you're still a priest.
I mean, there is a difference between the ordination of a priest and a bishop. There is a separate.
Laying on hands.
Yeah. So you'd say you have the fullness of the priesthood. The
fullness of the priesthood,
is in a bishop. So
There's a consecration and ordination. That would be the difference. Why do priests move around so much?
Oh, man. I wish we didn't, honestly. So really, it's whatever the needs of the church are. So a lot of times a local diocese will sign a priest for a certain amount of time. Sometimes as a pastor, they'll have a 6-year term and for renewable for another 6. That really just depends on the diocese in the area. I've been blessed to be in the same spot for, going on 13 years, which is really great. We got wiped out by a hurricane about halfway through, which kind of reset my time
your
here.
time.
But yeah, so it's really the needs of the diocese and what kind of protocols and stuff that they've set up. But I like being in a place for a long time because just get to know people. I love the fact that all the kids that, in my first communion class this year are all kids that I baptized, which is just
That's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
The priest of my parish retired last year, and he was there he came there when I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
He was there 28 years, something like that. Maybe longer.
Some priests are in like Monsignor Smith has been there for 20 some odd years. Like it's just
I can see the
you're under
wisdom.
the radar. It's like,
I can see the wisdom of staying, and I can see the wisdom of them moving them around too.
what's the benefit of moving a priest around, or like spiritually for your priesthood?
You don't create fiefdoms.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Sometimes if you get kind of too settled in an area, it kind of can become there's not necessarily the dynamism that you would want, or trying to grow a parish. Kind of just be like what sort of becomes comfortable. Kind of just the parish can end up looking a lot like the parish priest.
Yeah.
And sort of not really be challenged to grow. That I guess that would be one of the reasons. Too, if it's not working out great for not every priest is going to be a perfect fit as a pastor in an area. So it makes it easier maybe to move them on if the situation isn't a perfect fit.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm in favor of longer terms.
We can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, you already got your dogs and weight room.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to move, man. So moving sucks.
Yeah.
Just moving itself.
It's tough, and it's tough for the people too. And I feel like it's tough for like a lot of times people don't think about this. It's tough for the priests. I mean, it's a good thing if your priest is moving, if you're getting word of that. Just be praying for them, and let them know that you love them, support them, and don't wait till you hear they're moving before you invite them over for dinner. By the way, just do it now.
Yeah,
they're not that busy.
And they pay a lot of taxes.
Yeah. They pay taxes.
They pay taxes.
Yeah,
they already know what they're wearing.
They already
They're not bringing a +1. We know that.
And I'll say that I don't know if Google's asking this, or like, are priests too busy to get dinner with the family? It's like, no, we're not. Like I always joke that people are like, hey, we'd love to have you over for dinner. I'm like, yeah, sure, let me know. And they're like,
he said yes.
Okay,
Don't know.
Well, it's like, or they'll say, drop in any time, which I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not just going to be like, oh, hey guys, what's going on? what's for dinner?
We invited our priest over to our house, and he's like, I would love to. And he came over, had a great meal, sat around, we brought some chocolate and some wine, and it was great. And I thought it'd be like, well, let me check my schedule. I'll give it there, and give me some. He's like, how's next week sound?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people absolutely should do more is bring priests into their house, let their kids see priests as number one, part of the family, part of the community, but also see the humanity of them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you remember Monsignor Alpacetti came to our seminary?
Yeah.
So Vinny's godfather is Lee Buck, and his dad and him had a relationship. They were friends in Maryland when he was the pastor there. And he would come over on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and he'd start banging on the windows, waking people up. Does it sound like him or what?
Sounds like him, absolutely. Yeah.
So he has all these fond memories of the priest coming over and like waking everybody up. Where's your dad? I want a bourbon.
All right. Google asks, what do Catholic priests do for fun?
Ooh, man. Oh, man. It is varied. It depends on God. I'm training for half marathon right now, so I like to run. I like to 12 miles to 13.1. Oh, actually,
12 miles.
I might stop at 12. I might die at 12. We'll see. But the exercise and working out, reading, going to the movies. We have the beach. We're in Panama City, my parish, so the beach is near us. So take my dog to the beach. I do have a dog. Spend time with family, spend time with families in the parish or friends that I have, fishing. Those are all things that I like to do. Some music and some reading. I would say for my day off, I get one day off a week. And so my day off is a success if I pray, if I exercise, and if I read. If I do those three things, it was a great day off. So
good. Sounds pretty normal. Sounds like everyone else.
Yeah.
You guys are normal guys?
Most human beings, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. We also get into our priest pods and do about 7... Never mind.
Priest pods.
That's not a real thing.
It's like the spa. Spa day.
Just regenerates your priest particles. Not a big deal. Everyone's got that, right?
Yeah, the Vatican mandates it. What do Catholic priests do after they retire?
Yeah, that's a great question. So some dioceses will actually have like a retirement home for guys, but for a lot of us, our diocese being one, we're a pretty small diocese. It kind of depends on you. Like if you set something up for the future, a lot of times retired guys, if they end up, getting a place in a certain area, they'll sort of be available for sacraments at those local parishes. So we lean a lot on our retired guys in this area to on days off or when we're out of
like
town.
Grandparents, like I could take the kids out, take them to meal, get them all up on sugar, but at the end of the day, you can have them back.
Absolutely, they're not going to they're not making administrative decisions, which most of the retired guys love it because they can just do priest stuff. They're just celebrating mass, hearing confessions, meet with people here and there, and they're not having to think about payroll or think about hiring and firing, any of that sort of stuff. So that's generally what they're doing.
Yeah, Father Tetlow's up for retirement. He wants to go serve the poor and do retreats, and he's got this whole excitement about it. You know, this is going to be great.
All right. Here's the question. All right, are Catholic priests gay?
Whoa, man. Are Catholic priests gay?
Yes, that was the question.
That was it. Hey man, it's Google.
No, I mean I can speak from my own experience, but no, it's oh my gosh, I don't even know how to answer this question here. No. Is it possible for someone who has same-sex attraction to be ordained a Catholic priest? Yes, it is possible. The church says that if you have deep-seated homosexual inclinations and you've been living a gay lifestyle, then you should not be trying to get ordained a Catholic priest. So any man that's approaching becoming a priest is called to be chaste and is called to seek to order their sexuality, and obviously that goes for whatever kind of inclinations you might have. So we would say a couple of things. First of all, like that whatever your inclinations are is not your identity, and some people might quibble with that or argue with that, but that would be the church's understanding of this. That is not who you are as a person. You're a beloved son of God, and a beloved son of God is who, and a baptized son of God disciple of Jesus Christ who is called to be a Catholic priest. Within that, if they have struggles or temptations, those are called to be ordered towards, towards chastity, towards authentic living. Where they fall short, where they sin, they're called to repent and heal. So have there been guys who have been living, gay lifestyles who've been ordained priests? God have mercy on us. Yes. Same thing with guys who have been living other sorts of lifestyles secretly. It hurts the church. It hurts them. So for myself and any guy who's a priest, we're called to conversion. We're called to conversion. Also, too, for anyone who's been hurt by those actions by priests or priests who have been hurt, from their own, just not feeling loved or feeling broken. Every person out here is loved by God and is called to be a saint. But also God loves us and invites us to conversion. Conversion, which we might have it might be loaded terminology nowadays. Conversion means turning more towards Jesus. And so the things that you can't help, inclinations and things, we hand that over to the Lord as well. But you still have to choose. No matter what you feel, you still have to choose. And we're called to choose the Lord and choose purity and celibacy and integration. You can't do it alone. I say this too. That's one of the reasons why, for priests, it's so important that you have community, you have brotherhood, you have families that love you, because we're called to be integrated human beings. And that includes our sexuality, which is probably one of the things that's most fraught nowadays in the world that we're growing up in.
Yeah, there's a document released by Ratzinger under JP2, and the church, I'm paraphrasing, but the church refuses to reduce a human being to their sexual inclination and views them as the totality of their person, as sons or daughters of God. I think there's a lot of wisdom to that, because you are more than you're not just what you're attracted to. You're not just what you do. You're something fundamentally more than that.
Yeah. So what the church would invite anyone who's applying for the priesthood is that the priesthood is not like, well, you can't get married, so then you should become a priest. It still is a call. It still is a call to be discerned. So all those layers you should be honest about them with your formators, with your spiritual director, confessors, all those sorts of things. What the church does not want is, I've got this secret and I can't tell anyone about it, and then hopefully I'll be able to keep it under wraps so I can be ordained a priest. That unfortunately was very, very common for many years in the church and had disastrous consequences with people's just broken sexuality, and not just homosexuality, but just people who had all sorts of areas of brokenness and thought that maybe if I become a priest that it'll
fix itself.
Or that's the other option.
That's the other option. But it's like, no, we need integrated men to be priests. And I would say too, a man being attracted to women, which is the natural ends of who I am as a man, is not an impediment to being a priest. That's actually like a prerequisite. That's part of what we're called as human beings, and we're called to allow that, as we hand it over to the Lord, be part of what we offer to Him.
All right, 3 more.
All right, hit me.
Are Catholic priests mandatory reporters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does that mean? Explain that.
So a mandatory reporter is anyone who works with children or adults, vulnerable adults, is mandated to report if they've been harmed, they've been abused sexually or physically or emotionally, or if they're in danger of that, then they're mandated to report that to authorities. Where this comes up, and it's kind of a question with Catholic priests, is what if it's brought up during confession? And so within confession, what we would say, and this is one of the things that like certain states will bring up laws every now and then. Here in the United States, I know definitely internationally it's coming up a lot, should try to say like, well, priests have to report things that they've heard in the confessional. The church would say that no, if something's brought up in confession, it stays in confession for a lot of reasons, not to protect abusers or to keep abused people being abused, because what can happen if someone does bring up, something like that in confession, which is, it's very rare that someone's bringing up that they're abusing somebody else in confession, but it might be more likely that someone would bring up if they're experiencing abuse, like a young person, that we can advise them towards what the next step is. We can't mandate them. You can't be absolved. Obviously that's not a sin if you're being abused, but you can't be absolved unless you do this. But you can say, all right, for the next step, you can talk outside of confession or to this other person in order to get you in the right direction for this. But what that allows for, because this, when people, I think probably with good intentions, are trying to help, protect people and help make sure that there's no abuse cover-up happening, which obviously is horrific wherever that happens. But within why the church has the seal of confession there is so that many times it's the first time, because it's a totally safe place, meaning it goes nowhere else, the first time where this person might bring up the fact that they've been abused, or bring up the fact that they're engaged in this kind of behavior. In a sense, it's that first time to say it out loud. So that's that first step towards potential healing. When we're bringing that up to the Lord, we say that there's a seal over confession, because that's this part that belongs completely and entirely to God. Now, as part of that healing process, now that they've said it out loud, then we can maybe help them to take the next step towards being able to bring this up outside of confession to a mandated reporter, like a priest or somebody else, to help them to get the help they need, or help them to make the changes to be able to protect children or vulnerable adults. So priests are mandated reporters. Within confession, though, no, not because we're trying to cover that up, but because that becomes that one place where this person is free to be able to bring that up, where they're, in a sense, then they have to be able to choose whether they want this to be brought up to a person.
Well, they're going to God in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
So like, have you ever sat with somebody and said, look, if I'm sensing something, but if you explicitly tell me this, then I've got to report this in a mandatory way, or do you just allow them to communicate? Because it seems like there would be like a dynamic, especially for somebody that doesn't understand that.
Right. Yeah.
Where, you know,
or they might think that's just because you're a priest. I tell you this, and
you're going to tell
not
everybody.
Under the seal of
and,
confession.
Yeah.
Like,
it would be important to let them know. Right. Yeah. That we're not in confession right now. So this is not under the seal of confession. But giving them the space. I think obviously anyone who does this. That's not my daily experience, but obviously I've been with a lot of people through the years in these sorts of circumstances on all sides of it. And for someone to approach you there, obviously that's such a place of vulnerability for them, and such a place of trust, which praise God for that. And then being able to make decisions. Obviously, that's the reason why it's mandatory reporting, because in a sense, like once that comes up, then whether the person feels it or not, we got to bring this forward, for their own sake and protection.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a question: why do Catholic priests love Hallow, and why should they go to CatholicTalkShow.com/Hallow to download it for free?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the fact that the fine people at the Catholic Talk Show would make this, free for us. It's the church has such a treasure trove of prayers. I mean, and so there's so many great people who are preaching and speaking and teaching nowadays, and the fact that how there's other apps too and other places make this available to access it is just such a gift, and I think we live in an embarrassment of riches nowadays in the Catholic Church. Even like 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would have to buy a DVD series of this, and you just have that one DVD series, to get some Bishop Barron talks, or get Jeff Cavins speaking on something. Now it's all available, and it's, in a sense, if you're not being formed in your faith, you have to almost decide that you're not going to be formed in the faith.
Well,
nowadays.
obviously that wasn't a real Google question. Hallow is the sponsor of this episode. I pulled a little trickery right there. Look, Hallow is the world's #1 Catholic prayer app, and they got a lot of great stuff going on for Lent this year. Beginning on Ash Wednesday, they have Jonathan Rumi, Mark Wahlberg, Father Schmitz, Jeff Cavins, Sister Miriam, Chris Pratt. And they're leading prayers going up to Easter so that you could use this time during Lent to prepare for Easter like Lent is intended. They've got their Pray 40 Return Challenge, going through the parable of the prodigal son. A lot of different sacred music that they have going on. On Saturdays, they have this thing where interviews with Jeff Cavins, Gwen Stefani, Michael Iskander, who plays King David in the House of David. A lot of cool stuff like that. They have the weekly homilies with Father Schmitz, but they also have the stuff that they have year round, like your night prayer, morning prayer, rosary, different chaplets, sacred music, sleep aids, which is pretty cool. Put on some sleep stories, stuff for content for children. A lot of great stuff. If you want to download the app for free and try out a free trial on us, go to CatholicTalkShow.com/Hallow. Also, if you want to support the show, you can go to CatholicTalkShow.com/Patreon. You can see all the different ways you could support us. There's a lot of great tiers, very low dollar. We're not asking you to sign over your house or dip into your 401k, just a couple bucks to help us keep this show going. We couldn't do it without you. And in our gratitude, we got a lot of great stuff to send you. Coffee mugs, hoodies, hats, sacramentals, and then access to exclusive content. CatholicTalkShow.com/Patreon. All right. 2 more questions.
All right.
Are Catholic priests holy?
Ooh.
Loaded question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. we have that great line in Scripture that we hold these treasures in earthen vessels. The treasures of what God has done in jars of clay, if you will. One of my favorite bands from high school. Jars of clay. But so it's a confounding and beautiful mixture of the most sacred and profound and holy realities mixed with the most frail and sinful humanity, which is me, and yet it's me, it's my own humanity that's been called to be a priest. So I would say yes, we are holy and we're becoming holy, and we are at times the unholiest of realities, because nothing is more kind of jarring than my own sinfulness, which is ugly, and God have mercy on me, and then me standing at the altar and lifting up the body and blood of Jesus Christ in the Holy Eucharist, and that the perfect sacrifice is lifted up to the Father in my hands. So yes, and we are holy because we're part of the church, and the church is made holy by the power of the Holy Spirit, not by our own strength. We are sinners. I'm the biggest sinner that I know. I say this all the time. I've been hearing confessions for a long time, and I'm still the biggest sinner I know. But I'm also God's favorite, and I'm loved by Him. And I'm loved by Him enough to be able to have the privilege of serving as a priest, which is really cool.
All right. Last question. And this is a great question to end on. Are Catholic priests happy?
Ooh, studies actually show that priests are like some of the happiest people around as far as like job satisfaction, which is sort of an interesting thing. I think happy is happy and fulfilled in that how important what you're doing is, but there's a struggle. And I think this going back to when we talk about praying for priests and everything else, that priests I know are the happiest men I know, but it's not just a Pollyanna like, oh, everything's great, I get to serve the Lord. Like there's a struggle. There's a struggle obviously with their own sinfulness, but the brokenness of the world around us, the state of the church, the places where the church is suffering, the places where think of throughout the United States, places where the churches are closing, or people are don't have access to the sacraments, or there's been scandals. The scandals of our brother priests, those hurt us. People leaving the church, all these things, all weigh on us. But that's exactly what we get to bring to the altar. So one of the great privileges I have as a priest is no matter what suffering I'm going through, or sinfulness or brokenness or disappointments, and there's enough to go around out there and in my own head and heart, is we have the tremendous privilege of, with God's people in the person of Christ, laying that down on the altar and hand that over to the Father, and the Father giving us back Jesus, His Son, which is pretty incredible, and happens at every single Mass. So I would say we are the happiest people in the world, but I think we're more than most people, more than the average person, are constantly in touch with the most broken parts of society. People in their deepest pain and shame and agony. And so that it's a strange, beautiful mixture that it's kind of, God does something great with it. So yes, we're happy, and we experience, I think, sadness on a level that is profound and humbling.
Yeah, I hear like police officers who have to see stuff, or people in hospitals or hospices. I mean, you're probably exposed to more dramatic and traumatic things than the average person, but then the highs are also pretty high too.
Yep,
baptisms, weddings, things like that.
And God bless people in those sorts of industries and first responders and everything. We probably have a lot more on the joyful end that are a necessary part of our work than they maybe have on a weekly basis.
Yeah, you're serving others.
Yep.
Yeah,
and it's like every day you wake up and your job is actually doing something even more ingrained in the human heart, which is to serve others, right? So there's like that connection to that. I think that plays a big role, just practically speaking, Yeah.
Well, those are the Google questions. I think you absolutely outperformed ChatGPT.
Google asked the questions.
The closed questions. I got to do some research.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like them. They just look good. That's why we're in. So.
We should take a picture of your closet and put it up on the thumbnail.
Man, that's going to go on the Patreon. This was a lot of fun. Look, if there's any questions that we did not answer or any other questions, drop them here in the comments. We'll try to get to those as well. We appreciate you listening every week. We appreciate your support. Again, go try out Hallow. Support us on Patreon. If you want to travel with us to the Holy Land, go to catholictalkshow.com/Holy Land. And then also make sure you're clicking like and subscribe so that you can see our content come to you every week. We're on every major platform, YouTube, Spotify, all the social media platforms. And we appreciate all your support and prayers.